Great.
But hey, there is more. Okay? And he's not ready for that. No, there is one more thing. I'm actually going to be here tomorrow, and I'm going to show you one more important piece of this puzzle that we haven't touched much today. And so it's pretty exciting. And that is for now, but tomorrow you'll see me again. So that's it for now.
Thanks.
Bye.
So we're at the beginning of a journey to start offering SQL Server's capability in the form of cloud services. When we think about delivering these capabilities in the cloud, we think about extending the platform. We're not creating a new platform. We're delivering it in cloud form. It's got a consistent programming model. It's got common tools. You as a user of SQL Server are going to be able to leverage your knowledge and experience in using SQL Azure and using these cloud-based services. But it's also going to bring a unique value proposition. With these cloud-based services, we're doing the low-level administration, we're doing the physical administration, we're taking care of things like high availability, and you can focus on your applications and data. We went about on this journey as a part of a two-step process. The first step was building a massive scale distributed data service using SQL Server. SQL Azure is powered by SQL Server under the hood. The second thing we did was start moving down the path of exposing capabilities, and the first priority being the capabilities for application developers. We have live in a feature-complete customer technology preview SQL Azure, the first set of those capabilities, and we'll start billing for that service after the first of the year. We've been working closely with a bunch of customers and ISVs with their applications. We've seen great success in them being able to bring their applications from targeting on-premises SQL Server to targeting SQL Azure. And we've also seen some new scenario and new markets opened up by having this cloud-based service as an option. So quickly, our last demo, hang with me here. It's going to be very fast. I'd like you to join me in welcoming Liam Kavanaugh to the stage to show us some of what we've got in SQL Azure.
Okay. Last year at SQL Pass, we introduced you to our SQL Azure technology. This was an entity-based data store that was fully managed in the cloud that allowed you to build applications, web applications, using technologies like Windows Azure. Now, the feedback that we received from you was loud and clear. What you were really looking for was capabilities that reuse your SQL knowledge, a SQL technology based in the cloud, fully managed. So we've taken that feedback, and today we're happy to announce our feature-complete SQL Azure database technology. So I want to show you two things today. Number one, how across the board the tooling is being built to take account into the cloud, to give you the flexibility and freedom to choose whatever technology makes sense for you. And also how you can extend your current on-premise systems through synchronization. So connect the two together. On the screen here, you see I have a connection through Azure.com to my SQL Azure server. I had gone there, registered for this account using my live ID. And if I zoom in a little bit here, you can see that I have actually created my very first SQL Azure database using Adventureworks. And up here at the top, this is my server name that it had allocated for me. If I switch over to SQL Management Studio, and this is the R2 version of SQL Management Studio that now has integrated support for SQL Azure. And if I zoom in there, you can actually see that's the exact same server name we were just looking at previously. And if I open that a little bit, we can see here's the Adventureworks database. Just like in SQL Server, I can manage all of the objects. I can look at the tables, edit it, just as I would a typical on-premises SQL Server database. And even if I open up a query that is going to bring back the top 5 customers by sales, this looks like a very typical SQL Server query. Execute that, quickly brings back the results from SQL Azure. So that's the first part. Now, the second thing that you told us is that there's a need to extend your on-premises systems to the cloud. A great example of that is a partner of ours, Archetype, who's built this media platform that allows companies to consolidate all of their media content into one central repository. For them, taking their system and extending it to the cloud made a lot of sense, in particular for SQL Azure, because of the elastic nature of the the system, it allowed them to offer their customers the opportunity to grow quickly without making a major investment in their part. And then just the fact that they already had an implementation on SQL Server meant that they could extend that to SQL Azure. In fact, it was just a matter of hours to take what they had done and make it available in SQL Azure. Now, for their implementation, there was a need to connect the two together, to tie the on-premise systems to the cloud. So, for example, an employee might add in a new video, and that needs to be synchronized to the cloud to make it publicly accessible and publicly available. And once they see that video, they may rate it up in the cloud and make comments on it, and that needs to be synchronized back on for further on-premises reporting and analysis. So what I'd like to show to you today and introduce to you is a new utility we're making available as a preview download later this month. This is a tool that easily allows you to take your SQL Server databases and connect it to the cloud using synchronization based on the Microsoft Sync framework. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, and now I'm switching over to my on-premises SQL Server database. This is the archetype database that we want to bind to the cloud, connect to the cloud. So if I right-click, and you can see there's a new option in here based on this new utility to set up synchronization in SQL Azure. And what it does is it walks me through the steps of connecting the two. If you recall, here's my server name that it had remembered. So I'll type in my password, click on Next. Now the next page allows me to choose the tables that I can make available in the cloud. Now I'm going to select them all, but you can imagine that you might want to subset that so that only certain tables, maybe certain columns, maybe only certain rows become available in the cloud. So I'll click on Next, and the final step is for the wizard to actually go out and create it. Now, I'd actually done this before we came on stage, so let me show you the results of what this wizard did. So I'm going to cancel that out. If I expand the SQL Server agent, we can see it created a background agent to periodically execute synchronization to move the incremental changes from SQL Server to the cloud, SQL Azure, and then similarly from SQL Azure back on premise. So I'm going to launch that to do the first sync, just do it manually for the first time. And while that's going, let me open up my SQL Azure server, refresh this. Oh, not sure why it's coming up here. So, but I know it's there. I'm not sure why it's not refreshing. But let me go over to the browser application and show you this is their web application that they built using Silverlight on Windows Azure. And as you can see, there's no data in there because I hadn't created the database yet. But if I reload that, hopefully the synchronization is complete. And we can see it is. It has synchronized all those videos up to SQL Azure. I can take a look at the latest videos, search for one, like for example, Contoso, bring that up, and start playing it right from my SQL Azure. Make the ratings, have that come back on site through Sync.
That's great.
Thanks, Ted. Now, I actually have one other thing to show you just to finish
real
off.
Quick now.
Now, Dan actually told me that his team's been really working hard on giving that ability to take those DAC packages and deploy it out to SQL Azure. So let me see if he has his machine unlocked, if we can give that a try. Now, if you recall, this is the exact same environment, the exact same tool we were just looking at with Dan, where he had modified that authors table and made it so that it would deploy it to SQL Server. Now, soon in the future, he's going to make this, they're going to make it available to push it out to SQL Azure. So let's just go into the properties, see if we can change the connection string. And you can notice that this is a SQL Azure-like connection string. Click on OK. Build that and deploy it out to a SQL Azure server. That's going to take the exact same package, exact same schema, deploy it out to SQL Azure, and in a second, once I go over to SQL Management Studio, we should be able to see that.
Well, that's great. It's a great example of how we really are committed to a common application model and a common tool chain. And this is a future direction, but very soon now you're going to be able to deploy a DAC against our cloud-based service as well.
Great.
Great. Very
Thank you
exciting.
very much.
Thank you, Liam. So we've taken a tour of the information platform. We've talked about what we're doing for IT professionals. We've talked about what we're doing for developers and for all users that need to gain business insight. It starts on a foundation of a mission-critical platform. One thing we're announcing at the conference this week is new editions of SQL Server oriented around delivering the capabilities for the highest scale and most mission-critical applications. When R2 releases, we're introducing a data center edition above our enterprise edition. That edition will contain the support for up to 256 logical processors, our unlimited virtualization rights, highest levels of scale and multi-server management, highest levels of scale and performance in Stream Insight. As we deliver scale-out data warehousing, we're going to release that in a new edition we call Parallel Data Warehouse Edition. That edition comes together with hardware configurations from multiple hardware partners. And together, those things enable an appliance-like experience on industry-standard hardware with choice of hardware partners to deliver high-scale data warehousing at very, very low total solution costs. We're at a very exciting time. There's a very exciting year ahead of us. This month, we'll release the November CTP. It's a feature-complete CTP for SQL Server 2008 R2, on our way to releasing that in the first half of calendar year 2010. Download it, use it, give us your feedback. SQL Azure is live today in a feature-complete CTP, running on a production cluster. Get in the CTP program, use it, let us know what you think. And we're on our way to delivering Parallel Data Warehouse Edition. We'll have scale-out data warehousing running on SQL Server in the first half of calendar year 2010. The last bullet point is kind of a hold this space. Come back next year. We're working on the next version too. We're not talking about that today, but I think that's going to form the basis of our talk next year. So I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your partnership with us. I hope you all have a great week in Seattle and a great week at this past Community Summit. Thank you very much.
Now? Ted, thank you very much. Thanks to Ted and all the Microsoft guys for the speakers. As soon as your session rooms get full and calm down, we'll go ahead and start the sessions. We'll try to stick to the same end time, though, so you're going to be pushed a little bit. Work hard. There's some coffee on the 6th floor. Move on out, guys. We'll see you later.